Hey everyone, Rho here. Before we begin today, to all my friends across the pond, I hope you had a great July 4th weekend with your friends and families. And a big thank you to everyone for the birthday wishes, which is actually today, so we're having a little birthday upload. But with that out the way, on to today. And today we discuss why the Emperor of Mankind did not predict the heresy. General spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from across the Warhammer 40k universe, as well as a specific warning for the Horus Heresy novel Master of Mankind, as well as a specific warning for the Horus Heresy novel The Master of Mankind by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself, without spoilers. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, now one of the main questions that gets asked when it comes to the heresy is, did the Emperor see it coming? Or maybe more appropriately, why didn't he? I mean, surely he must have, right? The man who can foresee and predict anything. The man who gave his gift of prophecy to two of his sons. Two sons who, in their own ways, would battle with this foresight for their entire lives. The Night Haunter Conrad Kurz and the Angel Sanguinius. Conrad, as we know, would be cursed by these visions from a young age, tormented by dreams of destruction and war. The deaths of unknown faces he knew he would go on to meet. For Kurz, the aspect of fate became one he saw as a jail, something that would come to pass with a certainty, and one he could never escape. The Angel, on the other hand, began to see that he could indeed alter these prophecies, that the visions were glimpses of possible futures, and ones his actions could yet alter. When it's come to the Emperor, however, it's always retained some element of mystery on how much he can truly see, how much faith he truly places within those moments. So how powerful is the Master of Mankind's foresight? Well, it appears incredibly powerful. However, that doesn't necessarily mean he sees and knows everything. Much like his sons, we have seen him glimpse futures to come several times throughout the heresy. For example, within the Valdor novel Birth of the Imperium by author Chris Raitt, here we see a reference to the future Legion names after they have been reunited with their Primarch. Maybe nothing mind-blowing, but when it takes place in the final days of the War for Unification, before even the Great Crusade, it's obviously a good highlight of the Emperor's power. And there's one such example that really stands out for me on the full scope and breadth of the Emperor's power. And this takes place within the Siege of Terror novel, Fury of Magnus, by author Graham McNeill. And spoiler warning obviously here as we go on. Magnus, on his quest to reunite with his final splintered shard, infiltrates the Imperial Palace, attempting to find this aspect, believing it represented all that was good within him. However, upon finding out that the shard is no longer, Magnus killed Malcador the Sigillite, inadvertently within a moment of blind rage. And it's here the Emperor then comes to a perpetual by the name of Olivia to ask for her help in bringing Malcador back. And to gain her support, he shows her a glimpse of the future. And this is very much the grim dark Imperium we have all come to know and love over the years. A galaxy where there is only war, where the lives of humanity are grim and bleak at best. And yet, still, she sees the moments of hope to come, the time where heroes long fought lost return, which to me, as we've discussed before, is undoubtedly a reference to not only Guilliman's return, but also a tease of his brothers to come. A time when the likes of the Lion, Russ, Rogel, Korax, Jagatai and Vulcan will return. So even then, within the bleakest time of the heresy, when the siege is reaching its inevitable climax, the Emperor was able to see 10,000 years into the future, to see that there was still a hope, all while still manning the Golden Throne, holding back the tides of the ruinous powers. And really, that even implies that he was seeing well beyond this current 40k era as well. And this is where the inevitable doubts come in, because if the Emperor could see this, then surely he must have seen the heresy. And if not, then why not? Now, while we may never know the true answers to that for certain, we have actually received an explanation from the Emperor in regards to this already. In fact, it was quite a long time ago now, during the Horus Heresy novel The Master of Mankind, by author Aaron Dembski-Bowden. Now, throughout this novel, the Emperor engages in conversation with one of his custodies, a custodian by the name of Ra Endymion, showing him glimpses and moments of his own past, even giving us glimpses of seeing the Emperor as a child within an ancient Hittite tribe. However, it's in a particular vision of Ulanor the very question actually gets brought up, as Ra asks the Emperor, "Why didn't you foresee it?" And the Emperor almost appears to be taken aback by this. It's the first time Ra can ever remember seeing him actually hesitate. And the Emperor hesitates because, in essence, Ra is asking about the very nature of foresight. He's not angry about the question, he's simply trying to figure out how to answer it. Because in reality, it's just not that simple. So, what the Emperor does is take Ra from the vision of Ulanor and places them on a shoreline, at the bottom of a cliff. He tells him where we're standing now is the present, and the top of the cliff is the future. You can see it, you've just got to get to it. So obviously Ra asks him how, and the Emperor tells him to climb. So Ra does, taking time to look for good footholds as he does so, places to grab hold with his hands, and begins to climb. But of course, the inevitable happens, and soon he comes across a loose rock, losing his grip and falling down. He manages to grab hold and steady himself, but as he tries again, it happens again. And soon Ra finds himself standing back down on the floor next to the Emperor. And this symbolically is the Emperor's way of showing what foresight is like. Ra was studying his course to get to the top of the cliff, being as careful as he could. But he didn't know which one of the rocks was going to give way. And then, even as Ra managed to catch himself, bang, another one went. And for me, this is the Emperor trying to show Ra, you simply can't predict everything. I can see the future I want to get to. I can try and plot my way there, but I simply don't know everything that could go wrong along the way. The Emperor then tells Ra to have another go, but Ra declines, saying he thinks he understands now. However, the Emperor tells him to turn around and look out across the sea, which he does, and he spies another piece of land on the horizon. And again, he tells Ra you can see your destination. You know you could swim there, sail, or even fly, but you simply don't know all the things that can go wrong as you're attempting to do it. There could be predators in the water, bad weather, or a storm. If you're sailing, you could hit a rock that you can't see and sink. And the Emperor even says you could actually make it, but then get shot by the people of the island before you even get out the water. And of course, he's not wrong. There's literally a million things that could happen or go wrong as you are attempting to get there. But then he even goes a step further, saying that maybe the woman making the boat dies before she can finish it, or she decides not to give it to you. Maybe someone else sabotages it, or you're halfway there and then you see another island instead. And this is the Emperor just over and over emphasizing just how limitless all the possibilities and factors are, and how in each and every second they change again as the present you are in continues on. And for me, there's a really key line that truly makes me feel that he just couldn't expect the heresy. I can see the coast, Ra. I know what awaits me there, but I cannot see all the infinite vicissitudes between here and there. And yes, trust the Emperor to use a word like vicissitudes, but this is the Emperor saying, I couldn't predict the heresy. Of course, you can interpret that in many ways. For me, I see this as the Emperor being fairly straightforward, that he could see the goal and destination that he was working towards. His aim and eye was on that, his ultimate goal of mankind's survival and their evolution to a race of psychers. He planned and plotted his course as best he could, but he simply couldn't see everything that would go wrong along the way. In a way, it really does humanize him. For all his talents and his gifts, he simply, at the end of the day, simply had to have faith. No, not the religious kind. The simple faith you put in a plan once you've thought about it as best you can. No matter how intelligent you may be, no matter how much of a hard worker, at the end of the day, at some point it always boils down to simple faith. Maybe the Emperor did see a heresy. Maybe in all the limitless possibilities of futures he's seen tons of them. But again, he doesn't know how they're all going to happen, when or where the one pivotal action or moment that makes them happen occurs. What action before that leads to that path? Like Ra climbing the cliff, once that one rock gives way, you're now heading towards a different future. Maybe you can still see your intended one at the top of that cliff, but you now have to figure out another way to get there. All he could do is take his best guess and actions to avoid all the mistakes from happening. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Foresight isn't necessarily predicting the future. It's merely a glimpse of a possible future. Again, the Emperor knew the possible future he wanted to get to. He was simply working as best he could to get there. It just so happens his plan involved the entire fate of mankind. Even he, as all-powerful as he is, just couldn't predict all the things that could go wrong. The Horus Heresy is the Emperor in the middle of that figurative sea, with the ruinous powers bringing in a storm from the horizon. I think it's safe to say the Emperor's boat will sink. Maybe he'll reach the island yet. maybe he won't. Even now, within the grimdark of the 40k era, the story is truly yet to be written. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you buy the Emperor's explanation on why he did not predict the heresy? Why the gift of foresight is no exact science? In light of the Emperor's explanation, do you think he's simply done the best he can? Or maybe was there another possible option? That maybe he simply should have been more open with others about his plan? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.